Hey guys, welcome back to another Helluva Boss video. Now, I had no plans to make another one of these for a while, but then this trailer just kind of fell in my lap and I couldn't help but make an analysis of it, so here we are. I don't want to waste any time here, so let's just jump right in and go full conspiracy board on this thing. Alright, so first off, this trailer is much different from the last one we got. It's even faster, it's in black and white and looks like a storyboard, and it's got even more new information than the other one did. Right off the bat, literally the first frame, there's just an astonishing amount of new stuff. We get this scene, which features a new setting and a new character. Actually, let's start off with this new guy. He's definitely another Hellhound, and will probably be Loona's new love interest, given how they both act. I guess Vortex actually did get arrested in episode 3, because I think he's out of the picture at this point. So this new guy's also wearing this skull outfit thing, which I actually kind of think looks like a uniform, but that's a complete guess. Something else about this guy is that he only has about a second of screen time and is one of the only 3 characters that have any speaking roles in this entire trailer. Oh, yeah, this trailer has an entire scene from an upcoming episode in it instead of just a bunch of future audio clips that are just sprinkled in. That's probably worth mentioning. Anyways, he says this.
The hottie next to you wants to leave?
That further plays into the love interest idea, along with the additional details of this wink and that tail wag. I have a feeling that this love interest thing wasn't supposed to be a secret because even people who don't spend about 3 hours watching and annotating a 22-second long video at 0.25 times speed could notice this. The real question here, though, is why Viv made this scene in particular, the first scene, had it have the only spoken dialogue in the whole trailer and made it the only finished scene in color. Obviously, she wanted this to stand out, but why this of all things? Is it hinting at a Loona-centric episode? The fans have been begging for one of those for some time now, so that would make sense. Maybe she's trying to throw people off, or maybe there's more here than what's presented at face value. So let's analyze some more, starting with this new background. It's blue and yellow, and these plants look tropical. There's also this building here that seems to be made out of glass. My theory is that this setting is either a new ring or it's a location within a ring, kind of like Lululand. Maybe Blitz and Loona's outfits will give us an indication of that, seeing as they did match the ring last time. Okay, so Loona is wearing this dress, and yeah, no, it's not super helpful. It doesn't look super ring specific. However, it does look a bit nicer than usual, so maybe they're at a slightly fancier location than usual. Maybe Blitz's outfit will give us some clues to support that. Okay, no, his shirt says whore, which isn't super helpful either. Alright, so there's not much here so far, but maybe the audio is more helpful.
Well, these people seem to know you. Come on. I think I want to give this another try. Please?
Okay, fine. Maybe one drink.
Alright, these lines of dialogue definitely open up some new questions, but those questions are so vague that I don't really have any good theories for what they could mean. All we know is that Blitz probably knows some of the people that are wherever they are, and that Loona wants to try something again. Oh, and Blitz wants another drink, but honestly I think that was just a joke and has nothing to do with anything. However, we aren't completely without anything. There is still a little information that we can pull from here. For one, Loona says again, which leads me to think that when they tried whatever that something was, they failed the first time. So maybe when they were getting into the van to leave, it was because Blitz was getting frustrated and, well, wanted to leave. Another strange thing here is that Moxie and Millie are nowhere in sight, but Loona is, which is definitely not the norm. So perhaps wherever they're about to leave from is some kind of father-daughter excursion thing. That might actually explain the dress Loona's wearing. However, it definitely doesn't explain Blitz's new apparel, but we also can't see the other word on the shirt, so maybe it'll make more sense when we see the whole thing. Anyways, after this scene, the trailer goes kinda nuts. About 100 things happen in just a couple seconds, and this is when I actually had to slow the trailer down to 0.25 times speed in order to see what was happening. This is also when the art style switches to storyboard and the dialogue ends. Now, each frame here has a different meaning, and I'd be here for 6 hours if I were to analyze each one individually, so in order to effectively tackle this, I'm going to use slightly broader strokes and point out the biggest elements of these scenes and kind of group the scenes based off characters. So, let's start. Okay, first thing, we get more of Stolos in this season, and we see more of his family. Octavia and Stella have their own scenes in this trailer too. We get this shot of Stella talking to Stolos' back, and she seems pissed, as usual. Then, later in the trailer, we see Octavia, which is something I was actually pretty happy about. Octavia is a great character who's been completely absent for an entire season and definitely deserves some more screen time. In this scene, she's ripping a piece of paper with a star on it in half. I'm not really sure what that's about, and unfortunately, nothing here provides any helpful context clues. So those are all of Stolos' family scenes, which are cool, but I'm sure you want to see what the big bird himself is up to. By the looks of it, quite a bit. So we see him sulking again, but now we know it's because he divorced his wife, so that finally has some context. We also see several shots of Stolos doing stuff with Blitz, including this one where they're talking in front of his grimoire, and by the looks of it, they're pretty happy about something. I actually can't wait to see what that's about, because the grimoire has always been a source of frustration for Blitz. And that's pretty much it. Those are actually all of the scenes with Stolos in it in this trailer. Surprisingly, he only got a few shots, but in that short time, we actually got to see him do a lot of interesting stuff. I'm especially looking forward to the ongoing Goetia family conflict, which it looks like there will be more of in this season. Actually, we know for a fact there will be more of it, because Stryker is also in this trailer. I'm pretty sure this is the thing that I'm most excited for out of everything else I saw in this trailer, and I'd be willing to bet that the same thing also applies to you.
Hey, look, everybody!
Strikers.
Back!
Striker.
We love you!
Striker.
We get several scenes of Stryker in this. There's one of him spinning his guns at someone, probably either Stolos or the IMP. There's another one of him spinning around a railroad track on what I think is a bullwhip. And finally, there's one of him fighting with Moxie and Millie. Out of all of these, the railroad track one brings up the most questions. We can tell that he's fighting Millie and Moxie here, which is why I think these two scenes happen almost right next to each other. There's also this, which kind of looks like a drawing of Stolos. So that brings up several more questions. Why is he fighting Eminem again? How did they get here? Why are they in a place with railroad tracks? And where is that place? Now, I have theories about some of these. I'm pretty sure that this is all taking place in a mine, because all this stuff here is probably meant to represent rocks. And as for where, I think that the mine might actually be somewhere else in the Wrath Ring, since mines in the Old West are definitely in the same vein. Dad joke aside, this Stolos thing is pretty interesting. What I think is happening here is that Stolos got kidnapped by Stryker, and Eminem have to come and save him. That would be an awesome episode. As for how they got there, I have no idea, but I do know that I really want to see how Stryker comes back into the story. Normally, I think that Stella calls him back in again to finish the job, but the fact that she and Stolos are divorced now changes things. Would Stella really still be so pissed after that she'd call Stryker to go kill Stolos? I think she might, but at the same time, would she? We don't really know enough about her character to make a decisive decision. Anyways, that's all we get from Stryker in this trailer, but that's just fine with me. I would have been okay if we only got a single frame of him, since that's all the indication that we would need to confirm that he's coming back in this season. Okay, so next up we have Blitz. Blitz probably has the most scenes out of anyone in this trailer, so it's going to be the longest segment of the video. The first scene we see of him after the beginning part, and this shot from before, is this. Blitz seems to be in some sort of disguise inside a human house. Then he recoils for some reason. The idea that this is a human house is supported by this scene here, which probably happens immediately after. My theory is that the IMP have to break into this human's house for some reason, and he comes back home in the middle of their heist, which is why Blitz is recoiling. There's another sequence in this trailer which continues that storyline, which is this fight scene. The scene definitely takes place in the same house, and therefore the same episode, because the background is the same and the costumes are the same. My guess is that the dude whose house Blitz is in is a rich guy, and that these people that Blitz are killing are the guy's personal security. And as for the dog he's holding, that's probably the thing that Blitz had to steal from the guy's house. My guess is that there's something important inside of it. We also get this scene of Blitz getting sprayed by this pink cloud and choking on it. At first I thought this might tie into the scene that I just described, because the outfit and haircut look the same, but then I noticed that the setting was completely different. So that opens up the possibility for an alternative theory. Maybe this isn't a disguise, and that this is all cataloging something that happened in Blitz's past. Fans of the show have wanted more information about these characters' backstories since forever, especially after all the familial character development around Blitz that happened in episode 7, so it wouldn't be too unsurprising if that ended up happening. We also get this shot of Blitz in between someone's legs. This person is probably Stolos, unless this is more stuff from Blitz's past. Not a whole lot to say about that one. There's also this shot of what appears to be young Blitz. He's looking back at this guy standing behind him, and he looks kind of pissed off. He's also rubbing his arm, almost like this guy standing behind him punched him or something. Then he looks in front of him as if something else caught his attention. Now, I'm thinking that this person behind him might be a relative of some sort, because I feel as if his reaction would be different if some random guy touched him. Anyways, those are pretty much all the shots of Blitz by himself, but that's not all we see of him in this thing. We also see several shots of him with Fizz. So, Fizz is in this trailer quite a bit, and some of that time is spent with Blitz. So first off, there's this shot. I'm assuming most of these shots take place when they were younger and were friends, which is building off that character development we got at the end of episode 7. The inclusion of Fizz here basically confirms the idea that we're getting a Blitz past episode at some point in this season. We also get this one, which is harder to explain. So, Fizz is dancing with Blitz, and then he yoinks some keys out of his pocket. The most confusing bit about this is why they were happily dancing and then Fizz screwed him over. I mean, there's no way these two would dance with each other while being enemies, but then why would Fizz screw him over if they were still friends? The only thing I can think of here that makes sense is that this is how Fizz and Blitz actually became enemies in the first place. Another shot we get is this one, which is of Fizz lighting a sparkler against his metal arm. And that seems pretty insignificant, honestly. I'm not fully sure why it's here. I just don't get what this is for. But, hey, Viv is really smart. I'm sure this has some sort of significance, or else she wouldn't have put it in here. Anyways, the rest of the scenes are a lot more interesting than this one. We get this one, which is Fizz getting out of a bus, and, well, if you're watching this video, you know what happens next. God, I wonder if Viv will be posting this season on Newgrounds or something, because showing this scene for longer than like a frame is a really good way to get your video demonetized. So besides that happening, he seems to be getting off of a bus, which is kind of strange. Maybe Fizz goes on some kind of lust tour with Asmodeus. That would be pretty fun to watch. Speaking of Asmodeus, he's in this trailer too, which by itself is a surprise. I didn't think that we would actually see him much anymore, if ever again. But it actually looks like he's going to become a significant part of the plot since we get these two scenes. Okay, so in this one, he throws a flaming stick to Fizz, who catches it, flips someone off, and then throws it up in the air again. They both seem to be on a stage of some kind, which actually kind of supports the lust tour thing I mentioned. But besides that, I don't know what this could be about. Then there's this one, which is also a bit hard to decipher. I think what's happening here is that this person caught Asmodeus and Vizziepop doing it in this break room type area. At least that's what it looks like they're doing. I'm not exactly sure if that's, exactly what they're doing, but they definitely look like they've been caught doing something they weren't supposed to be doing, which, that's pretty interesting. And lastly, we have this scene, where Fizz reads a newspaper calling Asmodeus a hypocrite. Now, other people in the real-life Helluva Boss fandom have pointed out that Asmodeus is a hypocrite because he bashed Moxie for being too wholesome, but simultaneously had a wholesome relationship with Fizz throughout the whole episode. This is most likely what the newspaper is referencing, because there's a picture of them hugging in the paper as well. This scene is pretty important because the fact that this article was published likely spells out bad news for Asmodeus and Vizziepop, which will probably piss them off even more. This article might actually be the catalyst for a whole episode, one where Asmodeus and Vizziepop hunt the IMP down or something, which would be a really good episode. Right, so those are all of Vizziepop's scenes in this thing. Now, I've talked about almost everything in this trailer, and there's only one major thing left, which is Moxie. So the first time we see him in this trailer, he is clearly committing some sort of heist with someone. That's made pretty obvious by the red lights, the bag, and the money. However, there's still two glaring pieces of information missing. First off, where are they? And second off, who is the guy? Addressing the first question, they look like they're not in a house. We see some things that look like benches and shop windows or something, so it's probably a business of some kind. If I had to guess, I'd say it's a bank, mostly because it fits into the context of a heist. As for the second question, this actually isn't the first time that we see this other new character in this trailer. We also see him in this strange scene, where Moxie opens up a front door and we see him standing there with a sign. It says, "Tell your dad it's a salesman." Now, this sign tells us several things, one being that this guy wants Moxie to be quiet. This might be the first time they're meeting, or maybe they already know each other and they're about to do something that requires Moxie to sneak out. Maybe that thing is the heist we just saw. Another big thing this sign gives away is that Moxie is currently in his childhood home, which means that this scene is probably taking place in that past episode that we're most likely getting in this season. This is given away by the "don't tell your dad" part of the sign, because there's no way that this sign would be written this way if Moxie was an adult living independently from his parents. This really does all but confirm that we're getting that past episode at some point. Anyways, that is literally all we see of Moxie in this trailer. He gets a lot less screen time than I would have liked, but that's fine, I guess. And he's actually the last main character that we see in this thing. So let's just talk about everything that's left now. There's a handful of miscellaneous scenes in this trailer that don't have many, if any, main characters in them, and are just kind of there. First off, there's a couple of really quick scenes of Loona in human form here, meaning that she has to go back up to the living world again at some point. This doesn't exactly fit into everything else that we've established here so far, and I honestly can't think of a reason why she's up here. We're just going to have to wait and see what this is all about. Next, we see this. This seems to be one of those old-timey cash register wheels, but instead of spelling out the price, it says Mammon. Mammon is a name that all the superfans of this show will already recognize. For the unenlightened, Mammon is the demon prince of greed. His name was briefly shown in the Lululand episode, and his seal is on Hell's currency. This little scene basically tells us that the gang is going to go back to greed at some point, and that we're going to see Mammon, which is huge. These couple frames might have just told us what an entire episode will be focused on. You know, it really is amazing what you can find when you do an unreasonable amount of analysis on a 22-second long season trailer. Moving on, we also get this lovely scene. We've got an almost fully new demon at a concert getting blinded by this green light. Now, this scene lacks any context, and the only connection it has to the stuff we already know is that it might be part of that Lust World Tour thing that I mentioned earlier. We also get a couple frames of this character here. There's a lot of speculation floating around that this guy is another demon royalty type similar to Stolos. Honestly, given how little we have, I think that's a pretty fair assumption to make, and it could very well be true. However, if it is, I have no idea how that'll tie into the story. It's another one of those scenes that we'll just have to wait and see where it goes. After that, we finally get a little bit of Millie, who was almost entirely absent from this trailer. And for her couple seconds of screen time, we get to see her doing what she does best, which is mutilating people. Seriously though, she's tearing into these guys with an absolute vengeance. This doesn't fit in with anything that we know so far, but Damn, I cannot wait to see what made her pissed off enough to do this. And that miscellaneous scene that we see of her is actually the second to last scene of the trailer. Soon after we get the last scene of the trailer. It's somebody, maybe Blitz, setting their phone on a nightstand to charge, and then a rose petal falls on it. Little anticlimactic, guys, don't you think? Yeah, I actually have no idea what this is supposed to mean or represent. It's a very random scene. I honestly don't see how this ties into anything important, but it's here, so it has been mentioned. And with that, I've assigned a meaning to every single scene in this entire trailer, even though that's exactly what I said I wouldn't do at the beginning. Huh. Well, if you're still watching, it means that you enjoyed this, which is good, so I guess it was worth it. If you want to see me rant about Helluva Boss some more, be sure to subscribe, comment, and share this video around. Bye!